You know, with heavyweights, I always find it's if it's not one extreme, it's another. You ever notice that with heavyweights? And I'm talking more so primarily about weight with heavyweights. If it's not one extreme, it's another. Because if you take someone like a Joe Joyce, for example, when he fought Zhilei Zhang the first time, he was in the 250s, which for Joe Joyce, even 2 years ago, that was rare. That was like, oh my God, he's lost quite a bit of weight for this fight. And a lot of people blame the loss, not just the fact that Joe Joyce didn't really know how to move his head whatsoever from one of the biggest punchers, maybe the biggest puncher in the heavyweight division, and he got stopped. So they blamed the weight. A lot of people were saying, oh, he's too light and this, that, and the third. And instead of just like maybe doing a normal camp and coming in at a more normal weight, which he had been weighing in the 260s, he comes in the 280s. He looked massive, as he always does, but he looked even bigger. And did it work? Did it pay dividends? Hell to the no. He was actually worse, believe it or not. Yes, I can well believe it. Second time around. But it often seems like that's the way with heavyweights. You get heavyweights who they appear not in the best of shape, or they maybe come in a career lightest or something like that, and they've obviously lost the weight wrong. They've not done it incrementally. They've just gone on a big weight cut, which is silly for a heavyweight, and then they're drained, and then they're like, oh my God, I'm too light, and then they go and pack on a crap load of muscle, or in some cases excess fat. Oh my God, I'm so lethargic. Oh, I wonder why that could be. Mystery. And it's happened time and time again. Now, when I was doing our show at Ade, the show that we do at A&G, man, we recorded that on Thursday evening, and Ade was showing me some clips that Martin Bakole had uploaded to his Instagram account. And me and him were both kind of taken aback by what we seen, and this has me very worried about his chances going into this FA Ajagba fight. Now, I want to just, before I talk about the clips we've seen, had Bakole had gone into this, you see, that Joseph Parker debacle really has effed his whole, certainly, progression, let's just use that for want of a better word, progression towards the heavyweight title. It's effed that path up, because this fight with Ajagba now has no IBF incentive on the line. There's no eliminator, no final eliminator, so he's not going to be mandatory, win or lose. If he wins, that means that he's not in any position to challenge for a world title, and who's going to give him a voluntary defense, especially if he looks good winning, right? Assuming he does win. So this whole Joseph Parker debacle, where he fought Joseph Parker on 2 days' notice, he arrived in Saudi Arabia the morning of the fight. He looked terrible in the ring. He looked outish. He looked like he was breathing heavy just from the ring walk. And then he got knocked out in 2 rounds. So, not exactly good. It was an absolute debacle. It has me worried about this fight in regards how is his punch resistance going to be, because I know it was only a one single shot. It wasn't like he was laid out Amir Khan or Ricky Hatton style, like Hatton against Pacquiao. But still, you're going to be questioning, oh my God, this guy hurt me. I'd never been down before, and this guy, Joseph Parker's hurt me. What's Ajagba? Ajagba's a bigger puncher, in my opinion. What's he going to do? So there's worries there. But the clips that we've seen were of Martin Bakole, and again, bear in mind, we were kind of looking at it, we were like, well, Jesus, he's got a good while to go before fight night, so he might want to tone that down. And then it kind of, the penny dropped for both of us. We were like, well, hang on a minute. That Canelo fight night is not that far away. It's less than a month away. So then we were kind of like, oh my God, what's he doing this for? And what he was doing was, he clearly has taken the criticism about not being in shape and being too heavy for the Joseph Parker fight, or really outside of camp, on board. But I worry, is he going down the extreme end? And I asked that question because we seen clips of him in a sweatsuit with sellotape around the socks and everything, and it looked like he was absolutely just, disgusting, obviously, but it was sweat just dripping everywhere into a bucket. And you're doing that as a heavyweight. I don't see the point in that. I really don't. You're doing that as a heavyweight, and you're doing that a couple of weeks out from a fight where the opponent is definitely not going to be doing that. I worry, have they gone on the extreme end now, and are they trying too hard to come in light? At the end of the day, right, if he had started camp, how much did he weigh? 320? Had he started camp at 320 and he, over the course of 2 months, lost that 20 pounds, he would have still been in the 290s, which is still quite heavy. But he's been in that weight before, and he's looked all right at it. He's looked slow, but he's looked to have the punch, the work rate, and everything else. So for me, I was looking at that, and I was like, oh my God, if worst case scenario now, he's going to leave himself drained and overtrained for this FA Ajagba fight. And For me, I've always said if it was a Bakole who was going into this fight, if this, say the Joseph Parker debacle never happened, if this was just Martin Bakole going into this FA Jagba fight, none of the Joseph Parker stuff, I would pick him to win this fight, and I think he'd probably win it in similar, maybe probably more convincing, to be honest with you, because a Jagba's not really as aggressive as, and as I say not aggressive, how do I explain it? I think he'd be easier to find, even though Jared Anderson wasn't hard to find, but I don't think he'd give as much resistance as Anderson did in their fight, and I think Bakole would just absolutely beat the living crap out of FA Jagba and probably stop him in a couple of rounds. That's what I think would happen had the fight have gone as normal. Now, given the fact he's been knocked out, right, and given the fact that he seems to be doing a weight cut as such, which I don't really like it when heavyweights do that, because one of the things, you don't often hear fighters who are in any other weight division other than heavyweight complain about overtraining and, you know, being drained. Like, obviously someone like a Boots Ennis is going to be drained. You've seen him on the Wednesday, he looked terrible. He's going to be drained. But at the end of the day, Stanionis is going to be not feeling exactly the best either. Almost these lighter weight fighters, it's almost like they're trained, they have to overtrain to get down to that weight. So it's a bit more of a level playing field in regards that they're both going to be feeling pretty crap, let's be honest. You're going to have one guy in a Jagba who's probably going to be going into this fight feeling more confident now that he knows he's got a guy who was just knocked out 2 months prior. And second of all, you're going to be looking at that thinking, oh my God, he's going to leave himself so drained, and all I have to do is just rock up, throw a few shots, and I guarantee you he'll be either blowing or he'll be on the ground again. I think that Martin Bakole has really made some big mistakes this year, and that Joseph Parker fight being a prime example. I think he's just going to an extreme now. He's trying too hard to come in lighter for this fight, when in reality he should just do the camp as normal. You know, you were knocked out, but you weren't devastatingly knocked out, so you can probably still spar a couple of weeks later and just do a normal camp. Why the hell are you wearing a sweatsuit less than a month before you're going into a fight, and you're a heavyweight? For God's sake, man, doesn't make any sense. So this has me really worried for this fight for Martin Bakole, because I think Bakole is I think I've always said it for the last year or so, he definitely in the heavyweight division, he is a threat. He's a big threat to these guys. And I think that a fully fit, ready to go Martin Bakole, he's a problem. He's a big problem for these guys. I think he's making fights potentially easier for his opponents by doing this, taking them on short notice, but also all this trying to, I was too heavy, right, let's just cut all this weight like that. Oh, and I wonder how you're going to be feeling on a fight night. Probably not great. Wonder what that's from. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. Martin Bakole really trying to get the weight off for this fight. I think that could be to his detriment. I really do. Let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And until next time.